All right, the last thing in this chapter is going to be all about word problems. So we're going to start with a little bit of review of some vocabulary words that we already know, and then we're going to start looking at how we can apply these into real-world business situations where you have to make some decisions. So first of all, we need to remember what the phrase more than means. If you say more than, that means greater than. So for example, in words, if I said, the cost to rent a movie is more than $10, seeing is more than would mean put a more than symbol there. Now, I would probably use the letter C to represent cost here, and it's more than $10, so I would fill in the number 10. If I see the phrase less than, that means a less than symbol. So for example, if I say the cost to buy a sweater is less than $30, I would know to put a less than symbol. I would probably use the letter C for cost and then the $30. If I see no more than, putting the word no here means I don't want a more than, which means I want a less than or an equal to. I could have either one and be okay. The number of hours you can work each week is no more than 40. Is no more than means less than or equal to. I would probably use the letter H for hours, and I would put the number 40 here. No less than. When I see the word no here, that means I don't want a less than. So I want a more than or equal to. The number of days in a month is no less than 28, means greater than or equal to. I would probably use the letter D for days, and 28 would be the number on the other side. At least means I want this much or more. For example, if you say to your parents, I need to borrow at least $20, that means you want $20 or more. So at least means greater than or equal to. The score you need to win the game is at least means greater than or equal to. I would probably use the letter S for score and the number 30 for 30 points. At most means that this is the most you want to have. So less than that is fine, but not more. For example, if you need at most 2 hours of homework, that means you don't want more than 2 hours of homework. So you would say less than or equal to. Is at most means less than or equal to. If I say the number of hours you should watch TV is at most 2 per day, I would probably use H for hours. Is at most means less than or equal to 2 per day. Now this is kind of a review. We've learned these words before. We've seen them in translation problems before. Now we're just doing this in context. So let's go ahead and read a word problem. Enrique's company pays Salim to advertise on Salim's website. Salim's website earns $15 per month plus 5 cents every time a visitor clicks on the advertisement. What is the number of clicks per month that Salim needs in order to earn $50 per month or more? Let's start by defining our variables. We can always tell what our variable should be by looking at what the question is asking. So in a math problem, we would look at the last sentence. It says, what is the number of clicks per month? If I'm trying to measure the number of clicks per month, then my variable would be C for the number of clicks per month. Now we want to earn $50 per month or more. So if I want to earn this much or more, that means more than or equal to $50. Now let's figure out how I earn my money. It says I earn $15 per month. That's a one-time thing. But then I earn 5 cents every time a visitor clicks, which means this number repeats. You may remember talking about one-time values and repeating values when we learned about linear modeling. Now we're modeling with inequalities. So if it's a one-time thing, I'm going to do 15 plus 0.05, and since that is going to repeat, that's where I put my C. Last but not least, I would solve this. So I would subtract 15 on both sides, which means I would get 0.05C is greater than or equal to 35. Then I would divide by 0.05 on both sides, and I would get C is greater than or equal to 700 clicks. Because in this problem, C represents the number of clicks that you need. All right, let's take a look at another example. So, in the next example, it says you are checking a bag at an airport. Your bag weighs 16 pounds plus 2 more pounds for each souvenir that you add to the bag. How many souvenirs can you add if the bags can weigh no more than 50 pounds? For anybody who's ever traveled, you know that there are weight limits on your bags, and if you go over, they charge you extra money. So you want to make sure you don't get charged any extra. So for part A, let's look to see what we're trying to figure out. How many souvenirs can you add? If we're trying to figure out how many souvenirs we could add, we would let X or S equal the number of souvenirs you can add to your bag. Now, how are we going to figure this out? Well, we can weigh no more than 50 pounds. We said no more than means less than or equal to 50. How much do we weigh? Well, we weigh 16 pounds for our bag, which is a one-time thing. And we would need to add 2 more pounds for each souvenir. So that number repeats. Which means we would write 16 plus 2 and then times X, because that repeats, so we need to multiply by the number that we add in. Next, we would solve this. So we would subtract 16 on both sides. We would have 2x is less than or equal to 34. We would divide by 2 on both sides, and we would get x is less than or equal to 17 souvenirs. Now, some of you might be wondering, why did you pick x instead of s for your variable? Honestly, it's because a lot of time s's look like 5s, and I want to make sure I'm very clear about what my variables are and not mistake them for numbers. So I tend to change them to x's when it's going to maybe look like a number. So you could have used an s if you have very neat handwriting and you know you're not going to get mixed up. Let's go ahead and jump down to number 4. On January 1st in 2000, there were 175,000 tons of trash in a landfill that had a capacity of 325,000 tons. Each year since then, the amount of trash in the landfill increased by 7,500 tons. If Y represents the time in years after January 1st, 2000, which of the following inequalities describes the set of years where the landfill is at or above capacity? Now, we need to remember a couple different things here. It says in the problem, Y represents the time in years. So Y is the number of years after January 1st, 2000. Oop, I'm going to scoot down so you guys can keep reading what I'm writing. Now, if I was to set up an equation here to figure out when I reach capacity or I am above capacity, at or above capacity means greater than or equal to my total amount I can hold. And it also says here in the problem that the total amount I can hold is 325,000 tons of garbage. Now, how can I figure out how to set this up? Well, it tells me that I started with 175,000 tons. So this is a one-time thing. So I would say 175,000. And each year I add 7,500. So plus 7,500 y. And the reason, and I put an x there and I shouldn't have, the reason that this would be a y is that y represents the number of years. It's my variable. If I compare this that I just wrote to the options, it seems like answer choice D would be the appropriate choice to model this real world problem and help us figure out when we have too much garbage for the landfill. Thank you guys so much for watching and taking great notes. We will definitely spend some time talking about this when I see you again, so I look forward to practicing with you and have a great night.